Good day, everyone, and welcome back to the 9th installment in our Contesting Logistics series. Today we're talking about permanence, about making contesting logistics a true part of our military's DNA. We're not here to preserve a good idea. We're here to engineer a system that transforms logistics from a reactive, behind-the-scenes activity into a decisive, proactive capability, one that creates advantage, not just support. That means making contesting logistics a core part of doctrine, education, budget cycles, and daily battle rhythms. Logistics, as we've seen in Ukraine and the Middle East, and during exercises across the Indo-Pacific, our homeland, as well as red flag drills, has become both an offensive and defensive contest. It can impose friction on the enemy, disrupt their operations, and buy us time, maneuver, and decision space. It also enables us to recover, adapt, and maintain tempo in the face of persistent attack. So how do we make this enduring? Today we'll walk through the 3 big steps, which are to codify and write it into doctrine and policy, to scale and push it across commands, services, and allies, and to sustain, to resource, and govern it for the long haul. I'd like to talk to you today about how to move from promising pilots to a self-healing, self-improving logistics system that endures. Military history is full of the great ideas that fade with changes in leadership and/or funding. Too often we see innovative logistics concepts thrive under a visionary commander, only to disappear the moment that leader moves on, or maybe just when the money starts to get tight. My message to you is that we can't let contesting logistics become another short-lived experiment. To endure, it must become more than a program of record. It must be a true institution, built to outlast any individual or budget cycle. Institutionalization is about repeatability, standard playbooks, checklists, and planning guides that any unit anywhere can execute. It's about predictable resources built into the future year's defense program, so we're not starting from scratch every year. And it's about accountability, named roles, assigned owners, and metrics that are tracked, not just reported and forgotten. When we fail to institutionalize, we lose momentum, expertise, and readiness. But when we succeed, we gain an enduring advantage. Contesting logistics becomes a standing capability, one that evolves, adapts, and lets us seize and hold the initiative in competition and in conflict. That's why permanence isn't just a virtue. It's a necessity for the next fight. In Part 8, we introduced the 30-day loop. That loop contained planning, executing, assessing, and adapting. It proposed a breakthrough, short disciplined cycles of experimentation and feedback that lets us learn fast and move even faster. That said, execution alone isn't enough. Now we have to take that loop and make it the heartbeat of our entire logistics enterprise. Here's how this can happen. It starts with a pilot, perhaps a logistics adaptation cell set up in Europe to tackle new threats. When it works, it grows into a theater-wide sustainment team, sharing lessons across commands, joint and multinational. If we're to inject a contesting logistics scenario into an Air Force red flag exercise, it surely won't be a one-off. We'd need to capture it, codify it, and build it into the formal training at various DoD and multinational schools, such as the School of Advanced Military Studies. We do this so every new planner is ready. As an example, an artificial intelligence-based risk model, with a test in a Pacific Command wargame, would become a requirement for all future logistics acquisitions, hardwired into how we buy and field new systems. Each pilot output becomes part of a program. Each program becomes part of an enterprise practice. What had started as an innovative idea now gets adopted, written into doctrine, resourced in the budget, and measured as part of readiness. Simplified. Sure, but that is how we contesting logistics from a great idea into a living, evolving, force-wide system. Institutionalization starts with official guidance, doctrine, policy, and formal planning processes. If it's not in the book, it surely won't happen under pressure. That's why Joint Publication 4.0, the Army's ATP-4 series, and the joint planning process must all reflect logistics contestation as a core theme, not an appendix or afterthought. This means we need to embed modern and evolving disruption threats into campaign planning from day one. During intelligence preparation of the operational environment, planners must assess not just how we support operations, but how the enemy will try to disrupt that support, how we counter that preempt it and manage it, and just as important, how we can disrupt theirs, contesting their logistics. In Europe, this would mean mapping fuel, choke points, vulnerable rail hubs, and digital threats to supply tracking systems across the alliance. In the Indo-Pacific, we drill into planning for port crane failures, satellite navigation jamming, or cyber attacks on inventory databases that affect our operational reach and endurance. By institutionalizing this thinking, doctrine becomes a force multiplier. It ensures every staff ride, every war game, and every plan builds resilience from the outset. Contesting logistics becomes the foundation of operational advantage, not just a reaction, but a deliberate element of the campaign. To institutionalize contesting logistics, we must do more than teach it to logisticians. We must educate the entire force. That starts at entry-level schools like the Captain's Career Course, where officers learn to build threat-based plans and assume cyber denial, route interdiction, and fuel shortages. At Joint Professional Military Education Phase 2, it becomes a core requirement, integrated with maneuver and fires planning, but it can't stop there. We need to build contested logistics into multinational exercises, like Combined Resolve or Steadfast Defender, where U.S. allied and partner nations face real-world scenarios, from denied access to network failures. Cyber operators, fires planners, and intelligence officers will all need to learn to see logistics as both a target with complexity and options. It is also a multi-tiered vulnerability. We need to know how to exploit it. Knowing how to exploit it will instruct us on how to protect it. Such cross-training isn't just about delivering knowledge, it's about building into our culture. It must be embedded into our mindsets that logistics is a battlefield of its own, not a back office. Cross-training will build the skills for every warfighter and prepare him or her to contest, defend, and adapt logistics in the toughest environments. The right organizations always have good intentions about turning good intentions into real-world results. If we want to adapt faster than the adversary, we will need structures designed for speed, integration, and learning. Imagine if every theater command stood up a logistics warfare cell, a standing team dedicated to tracking threats, proposing adaptations, and driving change. These cells would include sustainment adaptation teams who constantly assess what failed last month, fix it before the next month, and share lessons learned across the force. Our institutional champions, which are the senior leaders with real authority and budget, are counted on to keep momentum alive between rotations and transitions. Cross-functional teams pair logisticians with intelligence analysts, cyber defenders, and planners, breaking down silos and building trust, and truly solve the most strategic problems before a round is fired. Think of it as DevOps for logistics, a continuous improvement cycle that operates in real time, not after the fight is over. If logistics is a contested space, we will need organizations built to adapt, built to fight, and built to win. This is how we make adaptability routine. As adaptability is not a one-off, it is emerging as the backbone of our sustainment enterprise. Without clear roles and authorities, even the best ideas can stall. Governance is the mechanism that turns strategic intent into daily action. We need a simple, transparent model for ownership accountability, one that survives leadership changes and spans the joint, interagency, and multinational enterprise. In our model, owners are agencies like United States Transportation Command or the Defense Logistics Agency, responsible for specific outcomes. Integrators are staff elements like the Joint Staff, which knit together competing priorities, track performance, and remove barriers. Participants include component commands, allies, and commercial partners, each contributing to defined frameworks. These roles are tied to real review cycles, 30-day operational check-ins, 90-day strategic readiness briefs, annual acquisition and budget reviews. This is so nobody is left wondering who's in charge when things get tough. Clear governance turns contested logistics from a shared vision into a shared reality. It keeps everyone focused, accountable, and ready for the next disruption. No nation fights alone, and no logistics enterprise can afford to. Our adversaries target weak links, whether it's a partner nation's port, customs process, or cyber network. We must scale contesting logistics across the alliance. That means developing coalition scorecards, shared assessments of fuel, transportation, and disruption recovery across partner forces. It means joint training where U.S., NATO, and coalition partners rehearse resupply under denied access or degraded net networks. Resource sharing agreements give us legal frameworks to borrow cranes, fuel, or repair teams in crisis, and common standards ensure our data, systems, and doctrine all work together. This isn't just interoperability, it's co-resilience. Coalition contesting logistics gives us redundancy, options, and strategic depth. It ensures that if one node is denied, the network survives. This is how we turn the coalition of the willing into a coalition built to win. If we want contesting logistics to endure, it has to be funded consistently and visibly. That means creating dedicated funding lines within our logistics portfolios, clearly labeled for contested sustainment. It means milestone-triggered funding, where money is released based on measurable improvements, throughput scores, disruption recovery times, or resilience audits, not just on spending plans. Funding test beds, such as those at Fort Bragg or Yokota Air Base, allow us to experiment, refine, and resource new concepts at scale. But we must also protect innovation funds, ensuring that experimentation is not always the first casualty of budget cuts. Ultimately, budget alignment signals commitment. If we write contesting logistics into the future year's defense program, we send a message to every commander, planner, and partner that resilience is not optional. It's funded, protected, and required. Long-term change requires long-term investment. That's how we make progress stick. In the world of contested logistics, disruption isn't a hypothetical threat. It's a daily reality. Risk management must be a routine, standing feature of operations, not just a crisis response plan. Here's how we institutionalize it. We execute quarterly posture reviews while color-coding the health of logistics nodes, fuel, ports, rail, power, and communications across every region. Then disruption testing becomes a standard practice. We simulate a port crane outage, GPS jamming, or convoy delays, then measure and document how fast we recover. Resilience dashboards track every critical metric, from throughput recovery time to redundancy coverage to the cyber patch status of our sustainment networks. This data isn't just collected, it drives decisions, triggers funding, and informs plans. By normalizing disruption, we move from reacting to shaping, from crisis response to threat anticipation. What we stress test in peacetime becomes what we rely on when the pressure is highest. In this series, we've developed the concept. Now's the time we embed it across the entire force for the long haul. Codify contesting logistics into our doctrine, handbooks, and plans so it becomes the standard, not the exception. Scale it across command partners and theaters, creating a culture where adaptability is a habit. Sustain it with reliable budgets, real governance, and teams empowered to innovate, test, and adapt at every level. This isn't just about winning the next fight. It's about shaping every fight that follows. When logistics is contested, whoever adapts first and best wins. If it's not written, trained, and funded, it won't survive first contact. Let's make contesting logistics the backbone of our joint force and move forward to build lasting advantage together.